Okay, my name is Jed McKeehan, and today we're going to talk about the different kinds of criminal offenses. You essentially have three different levels: infractions, misdemeanors, and felonies. Now, an infraction is something simple like a speeding ticket or a moving violation where an officer just writes you a ticket and you're required to appear at court and you pay a fine or something of that nature, and you may not even have to go to court. But the offenses are punishable by monetary means only. Now, if you miss your court date, they may issue you a citation for your arrest for failure to appear. But until that happens, all you are looking at is a monetary payment. The next level is a misdemeanor. And misdemeanors are punishable by jail time, which moves them up from infractions, and they are punishable by up to 11 months, 29 days in jail, less than a year. And they run A through C, A being the most serious and C being the least serious. C misdemeanors are punishable by, at the maximum, 30 days in jail. A C misdemeanor, an example, would be a criminal trespassing, while an A misdemeanor would be something like a DUI first offense. And those are punishable by potentially 11 months, 29 days in jail for the maximum. After that are the felonies, and that's everything above that, from a Class E felony, which is the least, to a Class A felony, which would be a rape or murder. Now, Class E felony is something like a vandalism charge or a forgery, something of that nature. And those are usually punishable by 1 to 2 years in jail. And if in the state of Tennessee, if you are a convicted felon or agree to plead to a felony charge, then you are forever barred from owning or carrying a firearm, from serving on a jury, or from voting. It's not the case in all states, but it is in the state of Tennessee. Now, another thing to consider is if you are convicted or agree to a plea on any of these charges, you will, in all likelihood, not be serving the balance of that time. Many times, you enter a plea on a felony charge and you do not spend 1 day in jail. You are sent out on probation. You hear all these articles about overcrowding a jail, there's people sleeping on floors. All that is true. That is why they have mechanisms called probation and parole to keep individuals under supervision by the state or the county and yet allowed to go out and live their lives. So if you entered a plea to some sort of vandalism charge, you might be sentenced to 1 or 2 years in prison. That sentence can be suspended, is what it's called, pursuant to you complying with probation by meeting with them, by passing drug screens, by paying your monthly fees, which some people can't do, and then they get violated, and then they have to serve time on their probation violation. Similar with a misdemeanor charge. On a DUI first, the sentence range recommendation in the state of Tennessee is 48 hours to 10 days at the maximum, and almost all of those deals get sentenced at 48 hours. So what that means is you're pleading guilty to an A misdemeanor, 11 months, 29 days in jail, but you're only having to serve 48 hours typically on those charges. Another thing to consider is sentencing ranges. So what that means is if you don't have any prior criminal history, you're charged with a felony, say the sentence is 10 years potentially. Even if you're convicted and they ask for jail time, you're only required typically to serve 30% of that sentence, which means that you would only serve 3 years on a 10-year sentence. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things that go into this, these kind of scenarios based on all the criminal charges you could possibly be charged with. And most people get hit with more than one offense when they get charged, and some of those charges can get dismissed when you try to work out a plea deal. But we can discuss that more at any point. You can find out more about me at attorney-knoxville.com. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And hopefully some of this information is helpful to you if you are potentially facing criminal charges or just want to learn more about the process.